My dad told me once, if you're out at 4 a.m., nothing good can come of it. And that's actually what's happening here today as well. One of my fondest memories of last session was a day when we had a difficult conversation about the city of Detroit, the grand bargain. And I remember after we were done with that package, our former speaker from Marshall was smiling, and this body actually burst into applause. We broke decorum. Nobody got gavelled down. Why? Because we did something hard. We worked in a bipartisan effort to take a look at one of the biggest challenges facing us at that time, and we solved that with the bipartisan hard work of many people in this room. Many of you who are second and third termers voted for that. You watched that actually happen and occur. Today, when we're done, maybe a couple of you will clap, but it won't be the whole chamber. And guess what? The Speaker, you had the opportunity to bring us all together. And I can tell you it can be done because I saw it happen in the Senate, where Republicans and Democrats found a common ground and found a solution. We could have had that opportunity. I hear, and just because you say it's about the kids, doesn't mean it's about the kids. You talk about the EAA a few years ago. We wanted to eliminate that by one of our amendments, but the same language was said with the EAA. This is going to solve the problems in Detroit public schools. It's going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And guess what? It didn't. It failed. We need to fold it back in here. You don't even solve that problem. But you went out and said that's what needs to happen. You said the same thing about the emergency manager law. We have to make these changes because once we do that, we can fix the problems in places like the Detroit public schools. You don't. That emergency manager actually brought up more and more debt, which is one of the reasons why we're here today. So the same speech that's being given by the majority, you've given it before. You gave it in 2012 when you passed the changes to the emergency manager law. You did it with the EAA, and every time we came back when the governor wanted to expand that failed experiment and you stood up there supporting him, you gave these same speeches. We did not solve those problems then, and this package is exactly the same. It does not solve those problems. The first thing we have to take a look at is, are we expiring the debt? And perhaps some parts we are. But we're creating a new corporation. And whenever you create a new corporation, there are startup costs. And you do not provide any of the startup costs that are being requested by the governor and being requested by the emergency manager, the transition manager, Judge Rhodes. You have the opportunity to help them make this happen. They have come forward with a plan that has these costs in them, and you've said, hey, I don't care the work that you have done. We don't think it's needed, and so we're going to just completely eliminate it. You then say the Financial Review Commission is going to choose a superintendent. You know that Financial Review Commission was set up for the city of Detroit in this bankruptcy. None of those people on there have academic experience. They don't know all the things around how to set up a curriculum. But guess what? They're going to be now hiring the superintendent. They don't have the background, they don't have the skills, they don't have the academics to be making academic decisions. Allow that to be happening by an elected board. You do not provide that in these packages of bills. What you also don't do is you don't treat the Detroit public schools the same as the charter schools. You have two different sets of systems here. That's unfair, and it's actually helping support things that are not helping this move forward. We have failing charter schools. They brag that they're better than some of the Detroit public schools, but if you're at 10%, you're at 12% efficiency, you shouldn't be bragging. You should be shut down. These bills you claim will give the SRO the ability to do that, but guess what? The SRO does not give them the same abilities that a commission that has been proposed like the Detroit Education Commission could do. It can close down both public schools and charter schools. It can also take the opportunity to make sure we're opening them in the right areas. Now, this is not some new idea that just came up by people in the city of Detroit. They went around the country They took a look at best practices. They went to Washington, D.C., they went to New Orleans, they went to Denver, and they took this model and said, let's take a look at it. It's working in these communities. Why not make it happen here? You do not allow us even the opportunity to have that vote on that commission. If you don't have that commission, you're not solving the problem. So you can put the money towards this, but you are not solving the long-term problem, and that means we're going to have to come back here at a later point in time. So in the end, to me, this is about politics, because I had a lot of my colleagues working in a bipartisan fashion. We were working, talking about joint proposals, and then all of a sudden, Friday, over the weekend, that all stopped. We're going to go do it this way, no matter what. It doesn't matter what the other side of the aisle thinks. We're not going to be bipartisan. We're going to try to pass it with only Republican votes. And guess what? I get it. The for-profit charter lobby is powerful. They make a lot of donations in this town. Very powerful people who support that lobby make a lot of donations in this town. And I have to tell you, your arms must be tired, because it's got to be hard carrying the water for these for-profit charter schools. Come back. Let's look at this in a bipartisan fashion. Let's take the opportunity to do what the Senate did. Pass something that is comprehensive, that solves the problem, that actually puts the real amount of money in that's necessary, not the sham for the for-profit charter schools. I stand forward here and I tell you that we will be back. We will be back dealing with this issue because you have not solved it in an appropriate fashion. I ask my colleagues to vote no on this. Let us go back to the drawing board, working with the Senate, working with the governor, and put together a real bipartisan package. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Singh.